I am so excited for you to hear the conversation I had with my dear friend of over 30 years, Melissa Griffiths. She turned a little side blog that she started during nap times into a full-time family supporting business that reaches kitchens all over the world. She's proof that success doesn't have to be instant. Her growth came from over a decade of showing up, learning the tech, and pivoting when the industry changed. And along the way, she created a life far bigger than she ever imagined, claiming financial independence, creative freedom, and the confidence to take up space. If you've ever wondered whether it's too late to start, how to grow something real from scratch, or what it takes to keep going when the success is slow, this conversation is the pep talk you need. If you've been waiting for a sign to take the leap, this is it. Hello and welcome to Found at 40. I am so excited because today's interview is going to be an absolute treat. She is the queen of cornbread, the high priestess of Pinterest, basically the Willy Wonka of your weeknight dinner lineup, and she didn't even need a golden ticket because she built the chocolate factory herself. 15 years ago, Melissa Griffiths started a little recipe blog as a fun side hobby, and somehow, between diaper changes, homeschooling, and building an actual house with her husband Thomas, it turned into a full-blown food blogging empire. We're talking viral recipes, mouth-watering photography, and the kind of SEO wizardry that would make Google itself bow down. Melissa is a self-taught tech queen, a recipe mastermind, and a mom to 5 lucky kids who basically live inside a real-life Little House on the Prairie, except with way better snacks and Wi-Fi. She's 1 part Laura Ingalls, 1 part Martha Stewart, and 100% that girl. Please welcome my brilliant, wildly creative, and truly amazing friend, Melissa Griffiths.
Thank you, Chrissy.
I'm so excited to have you here, like thrilled.
I just love that you're doing this. I love the entire concept.
You know, it's scary, it's overwhelming, it's daunting to do something new, to feel like, okay, I'm trying something that, it could be something amazing. I could realize a little bit into it that I'm like, this is not for me. It could flop. It could be any of those things. But I feel like the worst thing of all those possible options would be to not try at all.
I completely agree.
To always think, oh, I should have done this. I wish I would have done this. I mean, there are times where I think like, oh, if I would have kept up with this thing or that thing, it could be something amazing, which is why I always look to you, because you did take the little thing and you stuck with it and it grew and grew and grew. So that's what I really, really want to talk about, because it's like one of my favorite things to like reflect on, and to like when I think of building something from scratch and like being scrappy and figuring it out, and then your life taking a completely different course in some ways. I always think of you and I'm like, oh, Melissa, she's just so freaking amazing. First, before we get started, I want to give any listeners who do not know me or Melissa in real life some backstory. So Melissa and I have known each other for 30 years. We met when we were 10, Melissa. We went to church together. We lived, our towns were next to each other. So we never went to the same high school or anything, but we would see each other every week. Always just loved you, kindred spirit. You've always been such a wonderful, true friend.
Yeah, and what I love about our friendship is we're not the same person. We have lived pretty different lives. We have different interests. You're like fashion, beauty, popular cheerleader queen. And I just think of like Ma Ingalls, like I'm way more that. But we just have been best friends for a long, long time. And I would one time I was camping and you're like, no, I will not camp, but I will bring you ice cream. Do you know what I mean? So you brought a cooler with this ice cream and you came for the afternoon because it was just so you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will not camp, but I can bring you ice cream. That was one of my favorite things.
Oh my gosh. I was a little snobby about certain things, but it's like,
Yeah,
yes.
I loved it. Right? We're not the same person. And that's what made our friendship is fun. I still use the same mascara that you told me to wear 3 years ago.
I love that.
I just rebuy it because
you just
rebuy
rebuy
Chrissy
it.
told me to wear this and it works great.
I love that. Yeah, I love that our friendship, we don't have to be the same type of person or have the same interest to be like, you know what? We just have so much fun together and we just love each other. So
Agree.
And I love that our friendship has endured, and it's like sometimes it'll be years between us seeing each other or having a face-to-face conversation. The beauty of those old friendships is you pick up where you left off. I don't need to know the little minute details about your day-to-day life, and same with me, but because it's we have so much history that it's oh, we're good. But today I want to hear all about what you have built. Bless this mess. Like, it is so cool. Like, I brag on you all the time. Like, I have a friend and she did this big, amazing thing.
And you do make the chocolate chip cookies.
Oh my gosh. So I have to confess, I make them all the time. And everybody who knows me, they call them Chrissy's cookies. And like, part of me is like, they're not really. It is the best chocolate chip cookie recipe ever. Like, people ask me all the time. Like, I've had friends say, will you make it for my son's graduation party or this or that? Like, it is very much something that is high request. Or your cornbread. My gosh, like, there's so many things that it's like your recipes have become part of my family culture and like woven into like what people know me for. And like to know that that came from you and that was a gift that you have given not just me, but the World Wide Web.
It's 100% why I do it, right? I want to be in your home with you.
And to think your influence, okay, you know me personally and I can tell you these things, but like there are people across the world, your recipes have become part of their family story, which is just wild to think about. But tell me, how did Bless This Mess, how did it all start?
Okay, so I moved to Utah. Most of our family is in Indiana. I had a baby in 2007. So by 2008, she's 18 months old or so. And in 2009, everyone had a blog spot. So I had Thomas and Melissa Griffiths.blogspot.com. Yeah, so we had our blog spots and they were basically online journals. And then I would go somewhere and someone would be like, hey, can I grab that recipe? And I'll say, I'll put it on my blog. Because we were just in it every day. You would check in on who had updated. It was very different.
Google Reader for sure.
It was just so fun. So we're basically keeping online journals and we have these online friendships. It's like almost the first social media, but it's not that fast paced. It was slow. I would read long articles. I would know what my friends were doing and what their kids were doing and the things they were struggling with. And it was personal and it was lovely. So in around 2010, 11, I saw people that were taking the family out and doing food specific sites. And I said, I could do that. I liked it. I had been posting some internet recipes. It was still mixed in with my family stuff. And so I said, I'm going to do that. So 2012, I launched a food specific site and then I saw people starting to monetize it. And I always from the beginning called it my money blog. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to monetize it and I planned on that and I went forward with that aspect. And I kept up with my family blog for a number of years afterwards. But I did solely food in 2012 is when I kind of hard launched, even though I had been writing recipes online since 2009. And then it just grew from there. And I attended conferences and I learned about search engine optimization. But I am so old that I used to handcraft my print pages. I would make a separate URL that was plain text and hyperlink it to a print button because this wasn't done for you. They didn't have like recipe plugins that were nicely formatted and you could just print them out. Like now that just all happens for me. I had to handcraft individual pages for print-friendly options, and I did that. So I just feel like I helped develop the internet.
Truly,
in some ways.
Like you had to do things the hard way for a very long time because the easy way didn't exist yet. The apps hadn't been developed, the whatever software technology, like you had to become at least proficient in all these things to make it the way that you wanted to make it.
Yeah, and I think that because though, like the app developers came from the need of the people actually doing it.
I remember us when it was 2009, we're walking in our strollers. We would go on our Friday walks. You were pushing your oldest and we were both pregnant with our oldest boys. And yeah, you were like, I'm going to make a fancy blog. I'm going to do it. I was like, it's going to be amazing. Because back then there were no influencers in the way that we know now. There was no Instagram. There was no TikTok. It was like Pinterest was just coming up. And there were the people who were on Blogspot. The fact that it went from that concept to realizing, oh, this is going to be my money blog to I'm going to learn how to do all the back end links. Like that's just so wild because somebody will look at you and your business and be like, oh yeah, she posts food stuff. And it's like, oh no. That is the tip of the iceberg. That is what you see. What you don't see is all this stuff. So tell me, like, when you realize, okay, I'm going to monetize this blog, like what was the first kind of thing that started and how did you gain that traction?
I did meal plans pretty early, like way before everyone else. So, and I did Pinterest, you know what I mean? I just tried to be innovative, but I also wanted to fulfill a need. I feel like I've always thought of myself as like a service-based and an education-based provider. So I love that, but I was like, okay, I'm a busy mom with a bunch of little kids. What do people need? So I was doing easy snacks and I did meal plans really early with printable shopping lists, and people like that and they perform well on Pinterest. So I got traffic outside of my family and my friends and people who knew me. There were also linky parties back in the day. You used to submit your links of what you had created that week and people would highlight them. So I was active in this kind of like online blogging community in its very unique, nuanced ways early on. I really wanted to be a part of it.
Remind me, what did you study in school? Like, what was your degree in?
Recreational management with an emphasis in community recreation. So I could like run a park and rec for a city. I always liked to cook though, and my mom let me experiment in the kitchen. So it's definitely like been in there my whole life.
Absolutely. Like, I remember your love language being cooking. You would make me bread for my birthday every year. I loved it so much, not just because it tasted amazing, but it was like, this is from her heart. You didn't just go and be like, oh, here's, whatever thing from like the lip gloss aisle. It's like, no, this is from your heart. And that makes it so meaningful. And I feel like that resonates with people. Cooking is an act of love. So can you tell me a little bit, like, pull back the curtain when it comes to, we see the finished product, we see the recipe that's on your blog, we see the gorgeous photo that's on Instagram or on Pinterest. What are all the things that go into that?
I mean, there's so much, right? Because now there is social media and there's such an emphasis on video, and you have to be search engine optimized and you have to run the site. There's so many things. So I start with recipe development, which I'm really good at now because I've done it for so long. And I also I have a good understanding. I've done a lot of like continuing education, and I'm part of like the Bread Baking Guild of America. And you know what I mean? I'm part of some of these organizations and have continued my education. So I have like a pretty good, like, I know how to make a solid muffin, and I know how to do a really good one pot meal. Like, I've just developed recipes for long enough that it's not that hard for me anymore. I understand how components can go together.
You get the math behind the proportions.
Yeah, I like it and I get it. And I about know, you know what I mean? There's a certain amount of water that needs to go in a certain amount of flour to turn it into like a nice dough. So I'm good at that, and so it's quick. So I'll do recipe development just kind of for fun, or I'll try it on my kids, or if I know I'm going to a party or a cookout, I'll be like, I know that I want to work on this recipe, so I'm going to try it, and these people will be my guinea pigs. So I develop all my recipes just in my kitchen, and I take it and I get polls, and I think my neighbors love me because I take plates of things, and if it's a hard recipe, I will take multiple versions and say, like, I need you to rate these. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. That part is really fun to me. After I've developed a recipe, I still really like to do my own photos for the most part. So I will do a shoot day, but I'm trying to do video at the same time. And then I have these photos that need edited and videos that need edited. And I'll get all of that done on my end. And then I have the best virtual assistant ever. She is just really incredible. So her name's Jenny. I'll get Jenny a lot of things, and she helps me write the post and format it, because we've made templates now. We've been doing it for so long. On the back end, we have a template and a post format, and I will get all of that in there, and she spit shines it, and she takes my video and makes sure that it's on YouTube, and we'll do our keyword research, and then we need to pin it all, and we need to share it promotionally. And then email list is really big right now. You need to have an email list that you're nurturing and talking to. But then there's also sales and product development, and how you're growing a community, and how you're staying relevant in an AI age. So we're just always thinking and doing and working on these kind of, more complicated things. Like, I feel like it's an ecosystem, and the recipe is one point of it, but
that's what we see.
So much more. Yeah, there's a whole ecosystem behind it that's trying to support it. That, you know what I mean? Because I still need traffic to my site, and I have an ad provider, but I also want to have product, and I want to have a good repertoire with people. Like, I want to be a human. So there's just balancing all of these things, and we just do it.
And I'm sure, like, with something, knowing there's the whole ecosystem, this could take over every hour that you are awake if you wanted it to. Like, it could be literally sun up to sundown. And I love that it's like you've found systems that work, and that kind of the things to outsource, and what really, like, the recipe development, like, that is something that's very important to you, or the photography, that's something that you enjoy, and also you do so well because your photos are gorgeous. And I think what people don't realize about content creation, in whatever degree, it's like the little product you see, the millions of little things and decisions and thought points and like research that goes behind it. Because people are like, oh, I'm going to be an influencer and it's going to be easy. Or I'm just going to have a cooking blog and it's going to be great. It's like, oh, I'm doing
a really big push in October because my life is drastically changing. We are leaving our beautiful home in southern Utah and moving to Vermont. And I'm putting all my kids in public school, which is a big deal. My oldest will be 18 next month, and I've never had all my kids in public school. So even when they did, I've only been homeschooling for 6 years. There was never a time that all my kids were in school. So they're going to go to school, and my husband, is going to have a job. This is just going to be very, very different. I think I'm going to work more traditional hours, which I'm honestly excited about. But I have already started in October. I'm going to do a 31 days of crock-pot meals. But I don't want to make 31 days of crock-pot meals really quickly. So I started on them 6 weeks ago. So there is a lot of forethought also. So I'm always thinking about the next thing or the next launch or the next cookbook or how are we helping people or some of these things. There is a lot. I know you see the recipe, but you don't know that I wanted to think about what carb is involved, what protein is involved, what genre of meal is involved for 31 days. There's some nuance to it. You don't want 2 rice, chicken, Asian meals back to back in a row. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot of planning and forethought involved that I don't think that people realize either.
The fact that you're doing October, so that means right after your move, you're going to be shifting into holiday December, all of that, which is just wild. But I guess it makes sense because you think about, magazines and books and any publication, anything.
Yeah. Have an editorial calendar and you work ahead.
With your friends being your food testers, your family being your food testers, everything. It makes me think of the episode of Friends. Did you watch Friends when it was on?
No.
Okay, so you may or may not know this. So there was an episode where Rachel, so that's the Jennifer Aniston character, she decides for I think it's Thanksgiving, she's going to make a traditional English trifle, right? And so she's making, and it's got the lady fingers and the jam and the custard. And then they flip the page and she thinks that, okay, then you add the ground beef and the peas and the mashed potatoes. And it's because it had stuck. And so she made half English trifle, half shepherd's pie. And then she makes everybody eat it. She doesn't realize that she made a mistake. And so she's like, okay, everybody try it. What do you think? She's so excited and so proud. And they're like, it's good. They're dying because it's totally disgusting. Have you had anything like that where you've had your kids try something or they're just like, Mom, no?
Yeah, I think more in the beginning. This is how I got good at it, was by being bad at it. I remember for my 16th birthday party, I had people over and I wanted to make a key lime pie, but I curdled the filling and I added too much food coloring. And so it was literally Grinch green curdled key lime pie. This is one of my fondest memories of high school because my friends did not let me live it down because I still served that thing. I wasn't wasting all those ingredients. So yeah, I will do really wonky things occasionally. But I also like to streamline processes. So I'm like, why is there 1 teaspoon of milk in this base recipe? That's weird. No one wants to deal with 1 teaspoon of milk. So I'm like, okay, so are we reducing the flour? What other wet ingredient can we increase or can we reduce a dry? So there's a lot of, I like to finagle a lot because I want it to be the most streamlined, but definitely I burn things. I make weird things. The other day I added way too much salt and I forgot half of the sugar and it was a crisp and my kids are like, oh, this is something. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So it's comforting to know that it's it hasn't just been recipe perfection from day one.
No way.
Things still go wrong.
I could not make bread. I did not make pies. I did not make cookies. I couldn't make a cookie when I was first married.
I can't remember. Okay, when you and Thomas first got married and you're kind of establishing, this is kind of the grand plan. Was it going to be, Thomas, you're going to be an engineer and you're going to be working and I'm going to be home and raising the kids? What was your initial view of kind of what your family structure and your working business structure going to be? How has it evolved throughout the past 15 years?
We were just super traditional. That's how we were raised. I was going to stay home with kids. He got an engineering degree. We moved to a little town to open a hardware store. We just always long-term thought that we would live in this little town and run this hardware store that we built with his family. And I always planned on staying home. And then I giggle sometimes as things evolve because I always had a job. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even when we were first married, we managed apartment complexes. I cleaned at night. I've always loved the farmer's market. I've worked essentially since I was 15 because I think I like it. There's something inside of me. So when we became less traditional in our roles, it was hard because we live in a very traditional community. And so people didn't know what to make of it. But also I could kind of fly under the radar because I was still at home, which was socially acceptable here. So people didn't realize that I was working. And honestly, it was the best thing ever because my kids didn't need to go to childcare. I worked the fringes. I worked nap times and night times and early mornings for years and years and years because I was raising my kids full time. So that was really helpful. It took a while for it to like change over to where I was the sole income. It was like 2019. So around 2017. So 5 years in, I'm making real money. So the first 5 years I was making, you know what I mean? It would be little. And then I was
Like a
buying
part-time income.
yeah, and I was buying our gifts, and then I could buy Christmas and our vacation, and then I bought myself a car, which was really really exciting. That was my first. It was used. I spent $5,000 that I had earned myself on a vehicle, and that felt really exciting. And so probably 5 years in, I was then like matching my husband's income, and then I was exceeding it every year. But we're also building the family business, so he's working full time as an engineer and he's working full time for his parents. And I'm raising these kids. And we were building a house. Like it was just a really chaotic few years. And so when my business continued to grow, it made sense for him to step back from engineering and just do the family business and build our house and be at home. So he left engineering in 2019.
So he went from having 3 full-time jobs to 2. Oh my gosh. Now, I love hearing you mention building your house. Can we briefly take a moment on the shanty?
Yes, the shanty. So our entire lives, I knew that we were moving to this tiny, tiny town. It's a town of 600 in southern Utah, outside of Zion National Park. Thomas is from here. This was just the plan always. I knew before I married him that this is what I had signed up for. And so when we were in college, some property came up. It's a little town and there's not a lot of property. So we bought it while we were in college and it had this little house on it. And it was an old house built in 1898, which is really old for Utah. And we just had all these plans to remodel it and we had started gutting it and we just loved the shanty. So the shanty was our first dream. I mean, we never ended up finishing it and we bought a different house when Thomas needed to be an engineer for a few years to get his license. You have to work under someone. So we moved from our college town to a different little town. We're like slowly making our way south in Utah. And so while we were there, we remodeled a house and I washed dishes in a bucket for 9 months because like, this is what we're doing. You had how many kids by then? 3 little kids.
3 kids. Wow.
I had 3. Yeah, the youngest he was only a few months old.
This is Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, we all lived in one room. I did dishes in a bucket. This is when I started the official blog because I was like, no one will believe this. I've got to write about this. So I used to write about like home remodeling. We would find things in the walls of this house. Oh,
did you find like a map? You found some really cool things.
Yeah, I found games and books and a violin and old magazines. I found really cool stuff. So I would blog about what we were finding in the walls and our remodeling project and refinishing furniture on top of the food because it made sense for the point in life. That's why it's called Bless This Mess. And I was like, because we were just in the middle of this remodel.
This is a mess right now. What a time. What a time. That's, where it all kind of started. I have a question about how, like, as your business grew, and so as you became, like, a known name in kind of the food blogging sphere, you're not just some, like, random person who posts recipes from time to time. As you're going to conferences and pinners conferences and everything, was there ever a time where you felt like imposter syndrome of, oh my gosh, I need to fit this specific mold to be a legit food blogger? Or did you already feel like there's room for everybody? I don't have to be like this person or that person.
I definitely felt imposter syndrome. And my business, I didn't have a big viral. I have been a slow burn for a long time. And that felt really tedious because you would show up and I know exactly who started within a few months of me because we were all so new and you're kind of in it together. Like I can name the websites that started within 6 months of me on either direction and they really took off a lot quicker than I did. So sometimes I'd be like, man, like I don't work. I didn't put my kids in childcare. Like I have taken off large chunks of time because I've had a bunch of kids in between this entire process. And so I would often like the comparison game has been hard. Or I'd show up like I took babies to conferences. I would take a nursing 4 or 6 month old who's going to sleep a lot and strap him to my chest and go to these conferences. And, halfway through just be like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I'm a tired, sleep-deprived mom, but it was important to me. And I did it, but there were definitely nights of crying in a hotel room being like, who do I think I am? And it's taken a lot of work, like even just therapy, to be like, no, you can take up space. You can have interests. You can have more than what you were sold as a culture of what womanhood and motherhood looks like.
I appreciate that you sharing that, like, yes, it hasn't just been like, oh, here I am, I feel secure, I fit here, because I feel like that's something so relatable, because I feel like even if somebody looks like they're completely secure and confident, they're also feeling the same thing in whatever
Secure
way.
and confident has never been easy for me. I'm a 6 foot tall woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have always felt a little bit of out of place, period. So I've really had to work on that.
These things aren't changing. Like, if it's height that is something that makes you feel self-conscious, it's like, well, that's not changing. So how do we get to a place of peace and be able to thrive and realize that, like, oh, this isn't something that needs to change or should change. This is me, and I offer all these things.
Yeah, and honestly, working on the internet helps you. You just have to realize, like, people are going to have opinions no matter what, and you can know what's true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to buy into everyone else's opinion.
One thing that I really have appreciated about you is that you are pretty candid about building your business and how it has been a wonderful source of income for your family and a moneymaker. Your blog makes great money. And that's something that is super impressive and that you should, really be proud of that fact. But have you ever felt like you have to downplay kind of the monetary success that your business has brought?
I feel like it is you cater to a specific audience sometimes. Do you know what I mean? So my kids know that it's been wildly successful and that their lives are very different because of it. And I like to tell them that. I like them to see a woman finding success. And I also like them to know that this might not be their course in life. This might not be what their life looks like at 35 and 40 with 5 kids. They might not be taking their daughter to Europe for her 16th birthday. And I have really pushed on them too, like, money does not buy happiness, but money buys a lot of convenience and a lot of ease. And I don't worry about things. And you know, we can help you and we can help other people and we can do charitable giving. And I've been very transparent with my children in my home. But then, like, people in my community, I swear they have no idea what's going on because, like, we have a lovely house that we built together and people will be like, oh, what does your husband do for work? Oh, yeah.
You've been at this for a while. This has been kind of a slow push for a long time. And before, I'm not sure, I guess Instagram was like baby Instagram. But do you ever scroll back at your early posts? And I mean, I know you've updated a lot of posts, but did you ever look back at your old stuff and you were just like, cringe, like, oh, Melissa, this was
I used
bad.
to have clear glass plates. And I have a chicken pot pie. It's literally sitting on clear glass plate. So it looks like it's just sitting on my table. Like,
It's just floating. It's fine. We're just serving it
and I
straight
would
on the
just do
table.
recipes with like things I had. I did a radish coleslaw. No one wants to eat radish coleslaw.
But that's what you had, so that's what you were making.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And
So no, it's so cute. I love them. I love having it. I love my old photos. I love comparing them. I teach at the high school in a business class once a year, and that's my favorite part of the presentation is showing them my old photos to be like, you got to start somewhere, and it can be
you
bad.
got just, yes, like, I mean, I'm thinking, me starting this podcast, like, yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit clunky in the beginning. And so, my goal is, okay, what if a year from now I look back on the first 3 episodes or whatever, and I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, how did I do anything? That's
Right,
my
we'll
goal, that it's
update
like,
them.
okay,
We'll
that there
come back in
has
a
been the
year.
growth. So you've been at this for a while. You've been doing it. You have the patterns, you have the systems down of like how your business runs. How do you stay motivated and like engaged and not just get burnt out? Because it's a constant hamster wheel.
I think the internet makes you make yourself stay relevant or you will just die. Do you know what I mean? So even though I have good systems and processes, I reevaluate them very, very often. I'll basically keep going with them for a long time until I see the industry change or it mandates a change, but we're changing really often, like how we do our editorial calendar, or how we're like systems and our processes and our KPIs, like how are we deciding what's successful and what is not. And AI has changed so much so quickly in the last few years that like you need to pivot and you need to stay relevant, because you will just be drowning in the millions and millions of pieces of content that is being produced via AI. And so I feel like it is interesting because it changes all of the time. Even if I don't want to change, it will change. So then I have to adjust, and that keeps it interesting. We've had some definite growing pains in the last year or two, 18 months. And so it has been a big season of what does it look like? How are we showing up? What are we doing differently? How are we staying relevant? And those things, like, it does feel like it's constantly changing. And so you don't have as much time to be idle and to fall into ruts.
Tell me more about how AI has changed the creator landscape. Because, for me, my main AI usage is like, oh, ChatGPT makes a lot of things easier. But like, as a business owner, as a creator, what have all these AI sites, recipes, whatever, how has it rocked specifically the food creator industry?
I think that the issue with AI is that the creators, like I've spent 15 years writing on the internet, and AI came in within a few years, took everything that I had written for 15 years and turned it into a nice shiny package. And so now when you search things, that AI result comes up very first and very early. So it's taken 15 years of real humans' work, condensed it down to a snippet, and now no one goes to the website. So I really did well with search engine optimization when it was early. I just knew how to write well and have people find me, and I did really well for that for a long time. But now I'm down to position too far down for anyone to see, because they are prioritizing that snippet from my AI and then a Reddit post and then social media videos. Like, it's so hard to be very high in search because AI has taken over kind of that prime 1, 2, and 3 spots of real estate in search results. And it's just like, it's hard because I feel like we built it. Do you know what I mean? Like, AI
And
was
then it swoops
produced
in,
off of our work.
and now it's affecting you in a bottom line way.
For sure.
I get really nervous. I mean, like, I tell Ben all the time, like, the robots are going to take over. The robots are taking over. Like, are we going to be living like in the Terminator,
Use it for some things. Use it for editing your podcast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have it take out every that I say. It sounds like
Yes.
a beautiful gift, but there's still real people. And I spent all of that time creating that recipe and seeing the nuance of the wet and the dry and the flour and all of these things. And so people online have a hard time even telling AI food images, which is wild to me because they look so shiny and fake to me. But people love them and they share them because they're so shiny and fake. And their AI recipes have not been tested by a real person. They turn out pretty well, right? Though, because they have pooled thousands of recipes to create theirs. And it's just hard that I don't think people even realize that they're using robot created content, especially for food. And then they do. And then like people just aren't coming back to our websites like they were even 2 years ago.
Say we're searching for, what should I make for dinner tonight or whatever. Is it less reliable to do the Google search than to be like, you know what, I'm going to go either straight to the source, or I'm going to go to my favorite Instagram or whatever. Like, how do we get to like real people's stuff versus AI? Because again, like, there's a time and a place for AI, but like, there's certain things I don't want from AI. I do not want AI talk show hosts. I don't want to listen to an AI podcast. I don't want to listen to an AI created song or read an AI book. Like, I want the human personal touch. So how can we consciously avoid that? And it takes an extra second because it's like, okay, the most convenient is whatever comes up on the top of that search bar.
Yes.
But like, where can we find what we're actually wanting?
Add words to your search. So if you could just add blog, do you know what I mean? Do chicken noodle soup blog, chicken noodle soup. And then you can add like the name. You can do chicken noodle soup, bless this mess, chicken noodle soup, I am baker, chicken noodle soup, 2 peas in their pod. Like, whatever blogs that you kind of have gone to for a long time, you can add their URL or their site name and move on from there. But also you can just scroll past that snippet and you can scroll past, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll just pop over to the second or third page because those people used to be on page 1 and 2, and you can see the star reviews and you can know that they're real people. So I do intentionally try to find a blog that is from a real person. And there's a million scraper sites, but it's pretty easy to tell if that person's picture is real or if there's a real human involved, because we still have our photos on our sidebars. And I'm just trying to be really intentional as a creator too. Like I've started writing a little letter, like, it's 3 paragraphs and it's like a letter shape format. Like, I made this recipe for my kids and 2 out of the 4 liked them. And this is what I would do if I were you. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to like show up as a person more, because that pendulum has swung. We were so personal in the beginning. And then in the middle, everyone's like, stop talking. We don't want to know your story. We don't want to know about your grandma's recipe. Just give me the recipe. And so
but it's like it's also the SEO, you have to say the things.
Right. But people did not want it. They were not going to read your backstory. And so now I don't think you need every backstory. That's not what I'm saying either, but it's kind of swinging back to being like, I'm a person and I made this and this is why my kids like it. So I'm trying to reintroduce myself almost to the online community, saying like, I'm a real person and I really like this recipe because of this. And I think it'll make your life easier because now you're not going to have to think about this, or it only took 30 minutes, or you didn't have to turn on your oven in the summer. Like I had this forethought for you.
And I have noticed that. I mean, there's a handful of like food bloggers that I follow on social media, and I have noticed that it's like, oh, their faces are popping up again. Like they're showing up as themselves, not just as, faceless creator. And I appreciate that. I like the personal touch, and I don't want it just to feel like, whatever robot could be creating this. And I mean, like I had a recipe that I made, gosh, I think it was a potato soup. I made it for my kids' school, like it was a teacher luncheon. And I think I got it from like All Recipes or something like that. Made it. It was the most disgusting glop. It was the consistency of like, I don't know, like rubber cement. It was horrible. And I'm thinking, why does this recipe have, because it had like hundreds of 5-star reviews and the comments looked good. And I'm like, who are these people? Like, I know how to do a recipe. I know how to follow instructions. I know how to like make a roux and like do these things. I had my Aunt Kathy look at it because she's a great cook, and she looked at it. She was like, the ratios are all off. She's like, of course it's going to have horrible texture. And I'm like, how did this pass the test? How is this on All Recipes? How is this on whatever? And so knowing that the things that are showing up on your site are tried and true. It has passed the quality control.
Yeah. I got 5 little food critics, man.
They're going to be like, Mom, the texture is terrible. Yeah. And it was so embarrassing because I was like, well, I'm out of time. I have to bring this like crock pot to the teacher luncheon.
Food's too expensive to be like messing around with it.
Food is expensive, Melissa. I'm so glad you said that, because like my grocery bill, it is growing and growing and growing. And it's like, okay, I have 3 kids. You have 5 kids. It's just so much money. It is so much money. And it is painful.
That's why, like, I test and retest. And if there's a legit comment that comes in and someone's like, I had a hiccup here, or this didn't rise, or this happened, like, I retest diligently, because there is no room for people to waste ingredients in this economy. I'm going to take it seriously. If people are just, I get really insane comments from people who have no idea, who did not make the recipe. And so those I ignore or delete. But there are people who are like, this didn't turn out like I thought that it would. I'm like, okay, where was the gap in my instructions? Where did I not explain it enough? And I was finding people were having, I have some sub bun recipes that are just really good. They always turn out for me. And I have people put plastic wrap over the things instead of like a clean dish towel. And I think that people, if they stick a little bit, they're pulling it off, and then the buns are deflating a little bit. So that I was like, oh, I bet it's the plastic wrap and just that execution. So I just changed the recipe to say, put a clean dish towel over it. And I haven't had a comment yet. So I know that the recipe is solid, and I know how to grease my plastic wrap well enough for it to not pull. But if you have some overproofing and it sticks a little bit and you pull it off and the buns are flat, like that was an issue on my part. But also, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to blame you for me calling for plastic wrap. I want 100% success rates on 100% of my recipes. That's the standard.
I appreciate that like you are involved enough. You're not just the face on the website. Like you are reading the comments, you are testing and retesting. You're wanting to make sure that like everything that you put out, every product that you put out comes to that standard. Where it's not going to be like potato soup recipe that I did where it's like how like
Right.
what idiot wrote this because it's not making sense. It's like, oh no, this is something that like everything you put out, it has been touched by your hands. You've tasted it, so you know it's not garbage. I love that because there's something personal about it. I mean, there's so many, say like a pasta sauce in a jar that you taste and it's garbage. It's terrible, right? Where it's like, who approved this recipe?
I
Who
know, why is
approved
it
this?
so bitter? Sometimes I'm like,
Yes. Side note, Ben and I were just in Italy. The most amazing. It was a freaking dream. It was the best trip ever. And I feel like I left wanting to like devote my life to Italian cooking. I was like, we need to get a pasta maker. We need to get all these things. Do we have to order ingredients from Italy? Is there any way we can get the flour? We need the flour that they use, you know, like, because everything was so good and it tastes exactly the way it was supposed to. We had this pumpkin risotto that, like, I need to figure out how to do it because it was just so good.
the joy of travel. I love that for you.
Yes, and you've always been a traveler. Like you've been, I remember when you went to China, you've been to Australia, you've been all sorts of, you went to like Turkey. Like, tell me from a food standpoint, what are the favorite places that you've visited, the favorite cuisine that you've had?
I went to Israel on a food tour, like it was like a paid work trip a few years ago, and it was incredible because we were literally there to eat. So it was just the best of the best, the freshest. We went at the right time. We picked strawberries. So the going to Israel on a food tour was the most memorable food, I think. And then I went to Prince Edward Island with my husband, and I am just such an Anne of Green Gables fan, but it was like the countryside mixed with the ocean, mixed with these Victorian barns, and Prince Edward Island was really, really magical for me. And also, we like dug for clams in a shoal, and this man named Paul helped us make clam chowder. So I do have very specific food memories from that trip too. I'm a huge proponent of like do a walking tour, do a food tour, do something like I just took one of my boys to New York and we did a Greenwich Village food tour. And it was like the highlight of our trip because it's just like these little tastes and these little samples and you meet other people who are on the tour. That's what I love about food is food. We have turned it into macros and into protein and into calorie deficits. Like we have just taken food down to its most basic level, and that is a shame to me. I think that those things are useful and they can be tools, but to me, food gathers and food nourishes and food heals and food celebrates and food binds people together and teaches people about your culture and your love. And I'm on team build bigger tables instead of fences. And I think that traveling, especially coming from a very small white rural town in a conservative part of America, like I needed to take my kids out so that they could see how big and beautiful the world was. And food often has been how we have related to other people.
It's a universal joy. It's a universal, no matter what language you speak, like the language of food.
Yeah.
I love that because there's so much of, yeah, macros and it just, it turns it to purely fuel. Yes, that is at the base level, the purpose, but it is so much more than that. It is
I
so
love
much
this
more
so
than
much
fuel.
more.
So you are 40. You turned 40 this year, and you've been at your blog for what, 13 years. If your 27-year-old self saw you right now, what would you want her to know?
I love that question. I think that I would tell her to keep going. Like you do it. You do everything you ever wanted. It opens a million doors you had no idea were even available to you. And it changes your life. My blog and financial independence has given me so much that I did not know that I needed. And I had never seen it in a woman before, in anyone in my life. And it changed everything for me. And it's brought me some of my best friends and so many opportunities. Like blogging has changed everything for me.
The power of perseverance, the power of continuing on, the power of not saying, oh, this takes up a lot of my time and I'm not making a dime from it. In fact, I'm losing money because it costs money to host. It costs money to try this recipe in 8 million ways. Like, there are costs associated with that. You had a vision and you had a dream and you kept going with it. And that is something I admire so much.
And I love how you've always been my cheerleader. You have supported me in this for all of the years.
I will support you forever. Like, all the things. I'm just so proud of you. I remember, gosh, it was a couple years ago, but you did some type of event and you met, is it John Cannell from Preppy Kitchen, which I was just like, I follow him too. I love his recipes. And so, like, the fact that you're just, you're contemporaries, like as one does.
Preppy Kitchen is maybe a few echelons above.
He's a big deal, but guess what? You're a big deal too. Last thing, which I'm asking all of my guests, is the same 3 questions. First, 2-parter. First concert and best concert.
First concert, Blink 182.
I bet that was very fun. What year was that?
Oh gosh, I was probably 15. So maybe 99, 2000, 2001. I don't know.
So they were at their peak. They're like, what's my age again? All the small things.
Yeah.
I bet that was very fun. Okay.
It was super fun. Best concert, it's probably Dave Matthews Band. I also saw like Jason Mraz and Maroon 5. I saw some like people before they were really big, and those were just such fun concerts because they were little.
Yeah, because it was a small venue. You're not at an arena. Okay. Who would play you in a movie?
Jessica Biel.
100%. 100%. She has been your doppelganger. It's always the cheekbones.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Although I guarantee you Thomas is a lot nicer than Justin Timberlake. I have fully exited my Justin Timberlake fandom.
That's fair.
I'm like, you're the worst. My friend asked me last summer, do you want to go to the Justin Timberlake concert? And I was like, absolutely not. I will not give him $1. So finally, what is something that you have found at 40?
Permission to take up space and planting more flowers.
Oh, Melissa, thank you so, so much for coming on. I love you forever and ever. Where can people find you?
I'm at blessthismessplease.com and then Bless This Mess blog on socials.
So everybody, like, I'm going to post some of my very favorite Melissa things, the things that have, again, become like the fabric of my family, like the things that I serve in my kitchen that are over and over and over again, that these are the things that I truly love, and like knowing that you are part of it. I'm honored to have you. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please follow the show, leave a review, leave a nice review. I don't need the 1-star reviews. No thanks. Keep them to yourself. Share it with a friend, somebody, a friend who's quietly building something big, somebody who Melissa's journey would resonate. Like, share it with them. I'm just so happy that you're here. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.